Jeff, can you sort of tell people where we are today? I mean, do we have, a flying car right now?
We definitely do not have a flying car right now, yes. This is the very, very beginning. This started as a deep investigation on, can we actually take ride-sharing, the business model of ride-sharing, into the sky? And the reason for that is that no matter what you do on the ground, you're always limited by the fact that it's a two-dimensional road network.
Right.
And there's so much more mobility bandwidth in the sky. So we did a deep dive on this. My team, like a year and a half, 2 years ago, wrote a white paper about it.
Right.
And that kicked this whole thing off. This is now the second annual summit where we're bringing the entire industry together.
Uber's sort of the convener here.
You got it.
Bringing some of the software to it. You have 5 vehicle partners now.
Right.
Talk about what they're building and, just what are those vehicles? How different are they? What do they look like? What's the hope?
Yeah, that's great. So the vehicles are very different, from what you might think of as an urban aviation aircraft, which would be a helicopter, right? These are very different from helicopters. They're all electric, so these are battery-powered aircraft, and that enables us to design a very different kind of aircraft that's much more efficient, it's much quieter, has small rotors instead of big rotors, it has no turbine engine, so it doesn't make a lot of noise from those things. We think it'll be so quiet it'll blend into the soundscape of cities. It uses a fixed wing for cruise flight, which means the horizontal component of the trip.
Right.
And
they sort of look like planes, but then a lot of them have tilt sort of rotors.
Yeah, they have some kind of a rotor system to lift, to vertically take off and land, but then they use a wing for cruise flight, and that makes it a much more efficient vehicle. It's optimized for this specific use case.
And so those are sort of being built right now. Your first goal is 2020. What do you want to have happen then?
Yeah. So there's two major milestones with these aircraft. One is demonstrator flights, and that's what we want to have by 2020. We want at least 2 of our manufacturing partners to have flights that are demonstrator flights. These won't be commercial flights. So, you won't be pushing a button and getting a flight yet. In Dallas and Los Angeles, our launch cities, and then in 2023 we want to start commercial flights. So we'll actually put Uber Air in the Uber app in 2023.
Wow!
And you'll be able to push a button and get a flight.
How do we hold you to that, or what? How confident can you be that? What's I guess a fair question is, what is the biggest barrier to that happening? Do you think it's technological, execution, regulatory?
Yeah, I mean, it's really hard to say. There are no barriers right now that I consider to be showstoppers. And I was worried, for example, like, will we even find vehicle partners, and will people actually want to build these vehicles? And the answer to those have been a resounding yes. So there are fully funded vehicle programs running full speed ahead with very capable partners. I mean, Boeing just acquired Aurora. You've got Embraer. You've got Bell Helicopter. So these are very capable builders. On the regulatory front, this is a new, and you saw some of the discussion yesterday with Dan Elwell. This is relatively new territory.
Dan Elwell, the acting FAA administrator.
Correct, yeah. We had a fireside chat and discussed some of these things. There's some new challenges that come with these types of aircraft that are going to require different type of regulatory approaches. It's a completely new kind of aircraft, so we have to first figure out how to certify that, and that's well on its way. I think that'll get to a good place. But there's a lot more technology in the cockpit, so it uses a lot of autonomy, fly-by-wire technology.
Yeah, how autonomous are they? I mean, right now the design generally is what? A pilot in the front and then 4 passengers in the back of these vehicles?
That'll be the initial idea.
Right.
So we'll start with a pilot, and the idea there really is the autonomy software will be there from day one. The pilot will be flying a highly automated, augmented, system, which is a fly-by-wire system to control all these rotors and transition flight, to cruise and so forth, which is complex.
Because you want, multiple vehicles landing in the same general area, and many trips an hour, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we're going to be going to very high throughput situations and have skyports where vehicles are landing, people are getting in and getting out and taking off. And so the vehicle will be operated by a pilot, but will be very different kind of controls than what we've seen. And then we'll be running autonomy software, and the autonomy software will be making decisions, but they won't be executed. And we'll basically build a statistical case that it's safe. And then only then will we transition to autonomy.
You're a future-looking guy. I mean, I'm sure there's somebody at home, or many people at home, who are like, this doesn't exist. They, of course, want it to happen. It's not. Like, what would you say to that person, or what gives you faith that right now in this moment, flying car is something we've talked about forever, can happen in half a decade?
Yeah, there's a few things that have happened that are the confluence of which make this possible now. And we wouldn't have started working on this if we didn't believe this. It's a first principles analysis. So one is that battery technology got to the point where you have to get enough energy into a battery, enough density of energy, that the battery can actually carry itself through the air with motors, right? And then it has to be able to carry payload on top of that. We're well past that point. That enables a different kind of aircraft, which enables very low noise operation, et cetera. So that happens. happened.
So battery, light battery.
Battery, and then there's distributed electric propulsion built on top of that. Then there's the autonomy technology, the ability to build these fly-by-wire systems and so forth. That's a second sort of piece that you need. And the third piece is you need the ride-sharing business model. I think in the past, people have always thought of this, and there was a talk earlier today where someone showed Popular Science or Popular Mechanics covers, from many years ago, showing people taking off from their front yard.
Right.
And the individual car ownership model just won't work for this because it's even worse than when cars. I gave a talk yesterday about this. Even when cars were invented, at least there were already roads because you had horses and carriages before cars. Imagine if if the car came along but all there was trees.
Right. You want to convince all these parking garages to start installing stations.
Yeah.
Right? There's a lot to make happen at once. In sort of the
we have to build the skyports. In order to get the skyports, you have to have a belief there's going to be enough people flying these things that it justifies building skyports and it justifies building a lot of vehicles. So the ride sharing brings that because ride sharing is already a scaled model and we can incorporate it into the Uber app like overnight.